Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Bronagh Healey. Good afternoon.
Hi, Peter.
Perfect. Doing absolutely mighty well. Thank you for asking. So tell us, Bronagh, who are you? Where are you from?
So I'm Bronagh Healey. I'm originally from Derry, but I live in Manchester now. I've been here for almost 5 years, and I work for the government. I work with a team that do behaviour and culture. So it's a security team. So we actually look at how human behaviours impact government security. It's so interesting. Love my job, but the learning that I do with the job has sort of pushed me into looking at mindset more and actually why we do what we do and why people do what they do. And I've just went on a crazy trip of self-development over the last few years, and I am now training to be a mindset coach myself. So it's
Brilliant.
all ticking off.
That's a big subject. Why we do what we do. I mean, where do you start with that? What's
It's
what's the fundamentals behind that? Do you know?
so for us, it's like in my day job, we have to look at it because people dismiss security learning. They think they know better. And then when we sort of point out, actually you're talking about security, government security on your train on the way home, in bars after work, you're having sensitive conversations in corridors, and they don't really realize they sometimes feel that safe environments like the office are always safe, and they're not. Obviously there's a lot of hacking and listening going on, people infiltrating in the government departments, stuff like that. So whenever we really look into the why of why people do things, why they do what they do, it's because they think they know better than the teams or the structure of security that's in their organization.
Sorry. So yeah, so understanding staff. I mean, how do you get that across to staff? That different. The walls have ears as such. I mean, is that a? It's
It's
almost
more than that. Even like we cover cyber, we cover physical personnel. So it's sort of like just trying to get them aware of, their own behaviors and the cultures within offices as well. Like government, there's a lot of going for lunch and, after Friday drinks and stuff like that. And I know we all have Surface Pros now. We all have government devices. It's like, should you really be bringing that with you? Where do you leave it? How do you travel to work? So it's not even just about, like, people think, oh, security, it's about being hacked. No, it's all technical. But it's actually what we specialize in is, their behaviors, and it's making people more aware of just how they behave and identifying it for themselves, really. So we produce lots of interactive products, and we get really good feedback because it makes people think. So we have like games where people have like models of their office, and it shows like they have to find the risks, and they're like, oh God, I didn't realize that me leaving something in the printer for 5 minutes, printing it out and not going and getting it straight away is a security risk, or me having a conversation in a bus that doesn't have a door or something is a security risk. So it is. It's really interesting. Whenever we do a lot of work with like professional, like external companies on human risk and human factor, um, and how it just impacts security. And it's good whenever you see this sort of light bulb moment when you're teaching somebody, and they're like, I didn't think of that, or no, I do use my phone when I'm on the train. I must look. Is there somebody looking over my shoulder? Is there? So it's all sort of we're trying to sort of teach them that it's not just your computer, it's you. And we use a line which I love, is like our staff in every government department is the human firewall. And whenever you say that, they sort of think, right, they understand what a firewall is. No, they have all that sort of technical learning. But then it's whenever you really deep dive and it's you, your behaviors, your actions, what you do in your day job and what you do on your way home or your way into work. No, it is all security. It's all keeping you safe, keeping the department safe. So it is. It's really really interesting, the job, and it's so worthwhile whenever you get this sort of I need to be more aware, and it is. It's awareness, really. It's the impact that some of the things that we develop, the games, the face-to-face events and stuff that we run. Um, it's really worthwhile. It's really beneficial for me, especially what I'm doing now, because I get to see so much insight into how people think and why they think like that. And then I get to ask them questions as to, so how do you think will you change now going forward? What will you change in your security at in work? What will you change at home? And it's just fascinating to see some of the answers that people come out with. And it shows, like, I could ask the same question to 10 different people and get, after telling them, teaching them the same things, I'll get 10 different answers. And I just be intrigued. I'd be like, tell me more. So why why would you do it that way? Or is there a different way you could do it? And just getting really the insight and how people think is fascinating. And then I go and I read every book. If something sparks something in me, an answer from somebody, I'm like, I need to go and find out why people would think like that, or why they would give that answer based on what they've learned. It's interesting. Love my job, but then, like I said, it's all the learning that I'm doing and the interaction that I'm having. I just want to keep knowing more, and I want to help people then develop the skills that like the mindset skills, the positive behaviors, but also security, obviously, but then for themselves, for their home life, to be the best version of them. And that's sort of what I'm trying to do in work and outside of work. So my sort of professional life, my personal life are marrying together really, really well.
Well, I mean, it goes to show, I suppose, humans as general are perfectly imperfect. They just do what they do what they do, and whether it be ego, whether it be intentional, whether it be habit, beliefs, whatever. Unfortunately, that might be a security risk, and obviously that's sort of your job to train. But I mean, security in itself, and both in the personal mind of how you portray yourself to other people, as you say, it's kind of one and the same thing, right?
Definitely. They definitely link together, and that's what I think. Like when you make people aware of their habits, and even just how they put in their offices or in their, like, what they would have as safe environments. The language that they use, the way they speak about their job, or it all relates. Some people love their job, some people hate it. But then if they're saying, they hate their job, you're like, but you know what you're doing to your mindset and what you're taking home if you're thinking like that all the time in your work. And we have lots of learning products. That's what our team does. And it's sort of like, we get some people who would email us and say, but why? This is wasting my time, and you're like, but it's not. No, what you're doing is keeping you secure, and then what you're learning you can take outside of work. And then obviously when you get into the behaviors, people feel sometimes that they're being attacked. We're doing it to them, or people are doing it to them. It's the victim sort of mindset. And whenever you sort of explain the purpose of my role or my job, or what the learning product is on a personal level, especially at face-to-face events, and some of the events now that we're doing are over Zoom and stuff, and it's so much better seeing everybody's faces and seeing their reactions and saying, I can see some of these think, see, he's checking your watch, how long is she going to go on for, or how long is she going to speak for, and then I say, but this is a massive benefit, because if you're changing what you're doing in work, you're changing what you're doing at home. If you're more secure, you're more aware. If you're more aware, you're thinking differently. You're going to be open to so much more opportunity. And I sort of try and put the mindset stuff in as well, just drip feed sort of. And you can see people then more engaged and more, right, well, maybe I will listen to the end. Maybe I'm going to get something out of this. And that's really what my job, both jobs that I'm working on now are. That's what I want. I want to help people. I want to, obviously in work, keep them safe and secure. And outside of work, I want them to have the mindset to be aware of everything that's around them and everything that they can do.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes so much sense to do that. And I mean, I listen, 3-4 years ago, I wouldn't say of a closed mindset, but it's like very much, why do I need to know this? Is it going to help me or do what it is? And unfortunately, quite often it wasn't the case. I wasn't open to it. Whereas actually after a while, you kind of go, you can learn something in every experience. And that might be learning that I won't do that again. Or it might be that actually, I don't know, but maybe that might come unuseful in the future. Or, that is that powerful thing of saying, I know enough to know that I don't know. And that's cool. So tell me, what does fire in the belly mean to you?
For me, it is what gets me up in the morning. And it's what I'm doing right now. It's the development of my own business. learning about mindset, bettering myself every day. Beforehand, like anybody would say, like anybody who knows me would say, oh, she could sleep on a washing line. I was just, no, loved my bed, loved lazing about, watching films. Anytime I sat down, I was like, no. And now it's so much different. From I started working on myself, from I've started like all the self-development and the personal growth, and I'm like bouncing out of bed in the morning because I want to get my 2 hours in before I start my day job. I want to be able to start at 7. Well, I start 5 to 7, do my 2 hours on myself. I do 7 till 3 then in the day job, unless I'm traveling. Obviously not right now, we're not traveling. But then it means then I have like maybe an hour or two before dinner's due, or and it really is, for the past, I would say, year and a half, it's just the want to be better and the growth within me and what I can see, the difference in myself by doing and learning what I'm loving about, like mindset, everything that I'm doing at the minute is just, I feel different. I feel as if, it's like butterflies nearly about my life, and it's a weird feeling, but good feeling. So
Why?
it's because I know I'm doing what I've always wanted to do. So I'm training to be a mindset coach. I'm doing 3 different qualifications. This is something that has come back about 3 or 4 times, and I've tried to push it away. No, Bronagh, you've got a good job, you've got a lovely apartment, you've a secure relationship, you have everything that you need. Just be happy and content. And then obviously I kept my self-development journey. It started about 5 years ago, from about when I moved to Manchester. Actually, I had lots of free time, and when I moved to Manchester, I went into a job in an insurance company, and I just thought, right, this is a stepping stone. It's definitely not it's not what I'm going to do forever. And then I sort of thought, well, what if I did get stuck in this job, and what if, and then I started thinking, no, there's so much more. There's so much more. And then I just wanted more, and I knew that I was capable of more. So I just kept pushing myself and pushing myself, and now I'm like, I can achieve anything if I really want to. And I do believe that, and everything I work towards, it's like coming quicker than I ever imagined.
Well, love it. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. So take us back then. Where are you from originally? Talk to us about your family, your
So
upbringing.
I'm from Derry originally. I grew up in Healey, just a council estate. I'm the youngest of 5 girls. By 8, well, so my 4 older sisters were born within 5 years. I think my mama, I think it's called like Derry twins or Irish twins or something. She had 2 of them within a year, but she had another 2 within a year. And then I was 8 years before I was born. So they always say that they were trying for the baby boy, but they didn't get it. Sort of, because I'm quite a tomboy. I've always been a tomboy, but I had a really good upbringing. The house could have been crazy at times. 4 sisters, all similar ages, all similar sizes, lots of stealing clothes and fighting over the bathroom. But the best upbringing. My daddy played football and then started when I was born as an engineer in arts. And then my mama, she worked in the supermarkets and stuff, and then she became like just a housewife, full-time mommy, obviously. So we never wanted for anything. We butlins every year. We had matching shell suits. We were we were always kitted out in the best, and I just really, really happy memories. We always I don't have any really bad memories of anything that like affected me, or when I look back I just think, God, we were so happy. And it's funny because now that I'm a bit older, and obviously Derry and the history, and I look back and I think we were so happy, but my mum and daddy were so affected by the troubles and stuff, and they never ever let us see that. It's only now that I'm older, and obviously we can have grown-up conversations and adult conversations, and the trauma and that's there for both of them. They've seen some things that nobody should ever experience, but we never ever. It was never anything that was like a thing in our house that I knew of anyway. So it's like, it's mad how resilient they are when I can look back now and appreciate how much they shielded me from to give me the best opportunity and the best life. And they really have, the two of them. The six of them, my four sisters, were really close as well. And really, really happy memories. I'm surprised I ever left because I was spoiled rotten, as you can imagine, the youngest of five girls. But they always pushed me. I think they always knew there was more as well. And I was always very vocal and very confident. And anytime I had an idea, they were like, go for it, any idea, no matter how crazy it was. Or they were like, no, do it, push yourself and do it. And I did. I took a lot of steps, followed a lot of dreams, just on the pure belief that I could do it. And that comes from obviously my upbringing and my sisters and the support network that I had. Always knew that, you know what, if things go wrong, I can go home. Nobody's going to say, oh, no, you didn't make it, or you failed, or they're going to say you tried. Fair play. No, what are you going to do now? And that's sort of the way I go through life anyway now. And it obviously comes from my upbringing and that, and the support that I had from them, that, no, don't be afraid to try. Just go out there and do what you can and do your best.
I love that. It is that sort of, because I was going to ask you, use an expression there, so, you know, knowing there was more. And is that just built into you think, or is it part of your upbringing, or where do you think that comes from?
See, my mum and daddy, like my daddy worked full time for my whole life. He just retired there last September. And he always pushed himself to give us the best. But he always pushed us as well. You know, we didn't just get stuff for nothing. You know, it was if we wanted our pocket money, you know, we had to maybe help clean the house, or, you know, help with our grandparents, and it was always sort of, you know, if you work hard, you know, good things happen. And for me, going through school and that too, it was just, they always told me, do your best, do the best that you can, and you'll get far. And, you know, and if your best isn't the same as somebody else's best, that's okay. No, you don't have to be in competition with anybody. Just be in competition with yourself. Always push yourself. And I remember, like, A levels and stuff, you know, like choosing, or GCSEs, and I was like, oh, I maybe should do, you know, academic ones. And my mama was saying, but you're really good at art, and you're really good at IT, and you're really good at technology. You know, why would you do English and science? And that was me sort of thinking, oh, but that's what I should do. You know, that's me pushing myself, even though I was good at them. They weren't my favorite subjects. But my mama was saying, but imagine what you could do if you were doing subjects that you really, really liked. You know, how much more you could achieve. And I was like, oh, well, no, that makes sense. But I was always trying to be the best, you know, choose the best subjects, the academic subjects, because I thought that that's what they maybe wanted. But whenever I chatted to them, or whenever I said to them, they were like, no, well, that's not you. So, you know, they always steered me right and give me the best advice. So I think it is always wanting more. Pushing myself is definitely from how I was brought up.
I mean, that's amazing to have that foresight, if you like, you know, for parents, because typically people are going, well, if you take these subjects, then you can go and do anything. Whereas you're going, no, that's not for you. This is for you. I mean, that's a very wise thing to do, in my opinion.
Oh, well, my mama, she was the one that she was like, you do follow what you're good at. You know, how you apply yourself to your art. You know, I see you in your room for hours with your sketch pad, and did really well in art and loved graphics and stuff like that. And just, you know, like movies and stuff and typography. I wasn't the typical like young teenager from Derry. I think I was always a wee bit weird, but a good weird. So she was like, you know, follow what you're good at, be you. And for years I wasn't me. I was trying to be me, but always something holding me back. Even though everybody around me was telling me that I was good enough, there was always that sort of, oh, what? No, there was always something holding me back.
Love that. So, I mean, was there no trauma from wearing shell suits? No.
No, I always had the nicest one. I was the youngest one, so I had the nice colours. But it's funny. Actually, one of my coaches was saying that he remembers having shell suits, and everybody who was the one age had the same color. So it was like groups of teenagers were wearing like orange and black ones, and then the younger ones all had the same color. So they obviously buying them from the same shops and the same. There was only one size fits all age group, sort of. So
That's it.
no
Style.
trauma from that. I was a Celtic fan too, though, so I grew up in the green and white a lot. That was my go-to colours.
There you go. I was going to say it's all in front of you. Then you had no choice but to take it all in.
And you know what? See with the shell suits as well, because I was the youngest. I always say this, that I got a few hand-me-downs, so I was in shell suits for longer than any of them were. Had a few sizes they grew on me.
Oh, I love it. So as I don't know, say as a 7-year-old, what would we have met if we had met Bronagh then?
I was a tomboy, like a proper tomboy. I think like what my sisters say, oh, mommy and daddy wanted their boy, and they got one. Turtles, it was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, mad, football mad. Watched the football. My daddy used to take us to the Derry City matches, and we used to travel up and down Ireland to watch Derry playing. And I just a tomboy really. I loved being out in the street and coming in covered in muck and just adventuring sort of around Galia, and a proper tomboy. That's what you would have got.
And school, how was that for you?
Loved school. Never go back. I don't know why I never became a teacher, because I loved it so much. Primary school, I sort of changed halfway through. I went to a different school from primary 4 onwards, and then I went to St Mary's at secondary school in Derry. Loved it. I just loved learning, and I'm still like that. I loved the crack with the girls in school and getting in to see my friends, and just all the learning and everything that came with it. Then just the sort of social aspect and planning your weekends and stuff. But with St Mary's, like the school for me was amazing. The teachers were amazing. The sort of care they put under the pupils, well, for my experience, it molded me. It gave me the sort of belief in myself that, you know what, the teachers back you. You're not just a number. But no, they sort of looked. It's sort of similar to what the advice my mama gave me whenever I said to some of my teachers, thinking about doing maths and English, and they were like, "Why? Your art's all over the school. You're, they focused on the person rather than the statistic of, whatever a person would get in their subjects or whatever." But I went on then to be head girl of St Mary's, and that was a big achievement for me. I'm not shy, definitely not shy, and I can stand in front of about any number of people and talk. But I think having that so early on, like I was only 17, and I was, going and representing the school at loads of different things, loads of different events, and just seeing a sort of a different way of life. It's, this is what I'm going to go into now after I leave school. I'm going into the real world, sort of. I need to be myself. I'm not a uniform anymore. I'm not the blue blazer. I need to be comfortable in these sort of situations. So from school, I got so much from school. I loved it. Went to Saturday school and everything. But I was more the sort of art, technology, engineering, that sort of them subjects is what I sort of took on for GCSE and A level. And it really was, it just allowed me to be creative and it allowed me to think outside the box. And it really did. I would say my later years in school really set me up to believe in myself and believe in, and I wasn't sort of funneled into a class that I didn't fit in, or the subjects that I chose really allowed me to show my personality and allow me to develop my personality while being still only a teenager.
And I'm just thinking there, what sort of art did you do? Because you're saying that art was obviously quite a strong thread through your school years.
My middle sister, she did art, and I always remember her, lying on the floor with a sketch pad out and the paints everywhere and the the pencils, and no, you couldn't touch her pencils, they were good ones. And just watching her, I used to be fascinated. She used to draw sunflowers and stuff, and Vincent van Gogh and stuff like that. And I just got really, really into it. And then she started to teach me, how to draw, and do it like this, and know how to draw a fist, drawing the circles, and molding it under the shape of a fist and stuff. Just from then, I just really took off. My mama too would be very creative. She does like a arts and crafts and sewing, and so it was something that was always in our house anyway. Like we would have made birthday cards, and no way, we never bought them. We made birthday cards for our grannies or whatever. Or my mama did lots of like craft, like blankets and stuff. Really good with her hands. So I think the creative side was always there, and our upbringing. But my sister, it was just watching her and seeing how just relaxing. It was even relaxing watching her doing it. And then when I started, obviously at secondary school, you got to choose art, I think, from third year, and I just couldn't wait because I knew I was good at it too. I think that's always a bonus. I'll go and show off my skills, but it's just relaxing. And I did a lot of like contemporary sort of the Pasak, what do you call them? Gustav Klimt and stuff, and just sort of where there's no defined shape to anything. I like that sort of style. And it was just freedom. It was just, for me, it was like, right, a few hours doing on my sketch pad, that's my homework. I'm doing this for homework. And I couldn't believe that that's what I was doing. I was handing stuff in, it was getting marked. Things were getting put up around the schools. My mama still has some of my art in the living room at the house and stuff. For me, art was just, it was just me being me. I could just draw anything, and it didn't have to be anything. It was just art. It was something that I appreciated, something that just flowed easily. So it was always, even still, I do arts and crafts and stuff like that. I like to mix stuff. I like to know how things are put together as well. So I think that's where the engineering and the technology that comes in. I love a good flat pack, and I love taking computers apart. And, so
all the usual sort of stereotypical girl things.
that's it. They're all pink though. I make sure my computers are pink, and Emily do kind of don't. But I always a tomboy, and you know what? My daddy was sort of the same as well. He did everything in our house. The only thing he didn't do was electrics. So if we needed painting done or wallpapering, my daddy done it, and we helped. And no, well, we didn't help. We didn't put the wallpaper or anything up, but no, we mixed the paste for him. Or always good with his hands. He built us a doll's house, like something you would buy from a shop. And so we always had sort of really homemade stuff around the house, but stuff that we played with and used, and we seen how much effort went into things, and it made you sort of appreciate and what you can do yourself.
I was going to say good luck to any future boyfriends and husbands and all the rest. Following along from your dad.
That's what I always say. My daddy's my hero, but I'm allowed to print, so. But it's actually funny because my boyfriend, we're together 7 years. He is a firefighter. So my daddy says that's okay. He doesn't have to do anything else. That trumps housework or DIY. So.
Oh, I love it. That's fair play. So, like through school and that, I mean, did you have any jobs? Did you work at all?
I first started working. My first job was in a play area, so Jungle King in Derry, a soft play area for children. My auntie and uncle actually owned a franchise whenever I started working there. I was just as I got my national insurance number. So a Saturday morning sitting at the top of a slide telling children to cross their arms, and sometimes there was maybe a hangover involved as well, so it wasn't ideal, but worked there for a few months and then went to B&Q. Worked in the paint aisle, worked in the wood yard, and loved it because obviously it mixed in with my art, with my technology. I was able to like sort of match styles for people for decor, and then obviously with the wood, any scrap wood I got to take with me then in the school and make my own things. And so throughout school I worked from I was 16, so at the play centre Jungle King, and then I went to B&Q. And then when I went to university, I started working for Labrooks, for the bookmakers Labrooks. So I've always have woman's work never stops.
Fair play. So it's, I mean, did you know at that point what you wanted to do when you grew up per se?
No, I always thought I would go down the art route, and I did. I went to university and did. It's like graphic design with computer software, so it was nearly like two separate degrees because the lecturers could never agree. So the art lecturers wanted you to everything to look beautiful and everything to look nice and know your packaging, and then the IT ones just wanted it to work. So you're like, I know, but I have to incorporate design, and they're like, no, no design, just make it work. So for me, it was nearly like two separate degrees, but I learned so much from it. Um, and I did think graphic design then would maybe be the route that I would have took. But I worked for the Dairy News for my gap year of my studies, my university studies, and I worked on developing their website and some graphic design, just ads that would come in. I learned loads there, sort of picked up lots of skills and maybe like tricks of the trade and stuff, you know, with working with computers and working with design. Um, but graphic design was the direction that I was going. And then I got a job in Labrooks halfway through my degree. And the money started rolling in, and I was loving life with a wage, and just the crack in the bookies was 90. Uh, just sort of got comfortable working in the bookies. I did a bit of freelance designing and stuff while I was working in the bookies, but nothing major. Um, but in the bookies then I sort of worked my way up really quick. Um, and just sort of did lots of leadership and management courses, and I was working then as a staffing manager in Labrook, so I was like dealing with people's holidays, sick leave, for the 16 shops that's in Derry. So at a young age I was sort of doing like a senior role. Loads of money, living at the house, no rent. It was just the time of my life.
What I was going to say, what was it about that job that you enjoyed so much?
You know what? It was the people that I worked with, as well as the customers that would come in, and the fact that there was a lot of progression. You know, Labrooks had just taken over in Derry when I started with them, um, and there was loads of like fresh staff started. Like people think of the bookies and they think, you know, older men or, but there was a lot of young uh, fellas and girls brought in. So the working atmosphere was brilliant. You know, it was always a bit of crack, and then obviously the punters that are coming in, you know, always they're winners or they're losers. You could get some. It wasn't always happy times with the customers, but you got to build up friendships and stuff. No, you seen the same people coming in every day, and you know, maybe you have a wee argument one day, and the next day then they're bringing you around a few bars of chocolates and a can of Coke. No, they, oh, sorry about that. And it was just brilliant crack, and the company itself, Fabrics, were really good to work for as well. And you just sort of got the. It was as if I've worked a 12-hour shift and it was done like that. No, there was no real work to it, if you know what I mean. Everything was computerized, and it was just as if you were going to hang out with your friends for 12 hours.
Was it did you enjoy the psychology side? Because you're saying almost interacting with customers and like winners, losers, whatever way it went. But, you know,
Well, I think it was towards the end of my time in Labrooks that I sort of started looking at, no, I had started my self-development journey, but I wasn't really into it. And then I sort of, maybe not when I was working there, but now definitely. And as I started to work on, behaviors and how people think and that, I'm like, God, the mentality sort of to work there, never mind as a customer, you have to have a very strong mindset for yourself, but a backbone as well, a thick skin. I think of some of the things that people said to me, and I'm like, how did I like take that on and not react or not give something back, like bad things? I mean, no, people weren't always happy, or weren't always happy that their bets were losing or whatever. But I maybe not at the time, I didn't realize, but now looking back, I'm thinking for both sides, it's as much as it was a really good job, it wouldn't be an environment that I would put myself in now.
What is your perception on gambling?
I think, you know what, if it's controlled, no, but like for me, I've seen people come in and spend their full wages in a day, and machines and stuff, and it's not even just over the counter betting. It's the playing machines, the cards and stuff, and I would say it's an addiction, definitely. Obviously people get a high off it when they get their winners, and then obviously chasing bets too gives some people sense of adrenaline and stuff, and chasing money that they've lost, and maybe putting on bigger bets thinking they're going to get a bigger return. And for me, thankfully, gambling has never been a problem in my household or anybody that I know personally. But looking at it, definitely it maybe in Derry anyway, it's a big problem. It's a big and it's something that's not really addressed. It's just something, but she's okay or she's okay. No, it's only every other week, but then it's every other week and it's their full wages, and no, it's not healthy. It's as much as I had an amazing time working in the company, Ladbrokes for the staff, where they couldn't have done any more for us. We had really good benefits and we were well looked after. But for the customers, it's not for me anyway, and I wouldn't advise or tell people that it's a good place to go. It was a good place to work for me, but I wouldn't be picking it up or anything.
Do you bet yourself?
Me, very rarely. We went to the entry, the ladies' day races, and we put on, I think there was 5 races or something. We put on £3 or something, and every race was bit. So I'm the type that, you know what, I work too hard. I'm afraid to lose a fiver. Never mind putting a fiver on each race or whatever. But
it's an amazing thing, as you say. You work hard, so why would you then take the money that you worked hard for and put it into chance, into another outside of your control? It's kind of crazy.
It's for me. It's just it's not something that I would ever be comfortable with. So,
no,
and I take lots of chances. I take lots of risks, but maybe not with my money.
yeah, it's probably different. Yeah, it's different. That's no. So really on that. So you Ladbrokes then. Where did you go after that?
I went to New York. I met a fella in Derry, mad about him, and he had already decided that he was going to Australia to live. So I thought, right, I'll see him right up there he goes, and sure, we'll part our ways then, and whatever, we'll see what happens. But he went and he got on, he was loving it, and I just was like, you know what, I'm not staying here, I'm gonna go somewhere. And I went there, but I had a dream one night about New York, and I woke up the next morning, I booked flights for 3 months. And I went, and I extended. I stayed for about just over 5 months. But then when I look back now, I actually did a post about this the other day, and sort of when I'm doing the self-reflection and stuff, I'm thinking that even then I knew that there was more for me. And I think I was 26 at the time, and I was thinking, whenever I was writing this post and I was doing a bit of self-reflection, and I was thinking, like, my life was so good at that time. I had no rent, I had loads of money, I had loads of friends, I was out every week. But I was 26 and I was happy with that. But I think I knew if I hadn't made a change, 36 could have came and I probably would have been doing the same thing. So I think even though it wasn't a conscious maybe thought when I was 26, I think I knew something had to change, and that was it. I had always dreamed of going to New York, and then I had a very significant dream. It was like a day in the life of me in New York, and I had done everything that I wanted to do on that day. And I woke up and I was like, I have to go. I went on and booked flights, and I went down and told my mama, and she was like, what about your job? And I was like, I don't know. It'll be there when I come back, maybe. And I went to New York, and I had an absolute ball. The best days of my life.
Wow. What was it about New York that did it for you?
See, my oldest sister went to New York when she was younger, and the stories just that she brought back, and even then, like seeing it in movies and stuff, and hearing about it, and obviously all the iconic, the Times Square and the Empire State. It was just, I just always felt drawn to it. And then that dream, it was as if I was living it, and I woke up feeling like, if I don't go, I'll never experience it. Or no, if I don't think I could have the same experience if I went for a week. And no, it was never just a holiday. It was the thought of it. It was no experience in living there, working there. And I made that decision, booked the flights, and then I went on the University of Ulster page, and they had a thing, like a connection with Microsoft, and I signed up to do a Woman in IT course while I was there, and everything just fell into place.
Oh wow! So you were doing a bit of studying whilst there at the same time?
It was like it was Women in IT, and it was broke up into like 4 or 5 different module things. So it was about learning to code, learning to build apps, design and infrastructure and stuff. And it was about 6 weeks of the time that I was there. I worked in the bar then part-time, and just lived my best life for a good solid 5 months.
Wow, so what was that, 2014, if I've done the math right?
2014, I went in March, just made it there for St. Patrick's Day. Got a job in the bar as soon as I got there, the biggest Irish bar in New York, O'Luna's, and fell on with the best group of people. I moved into like a shared apartment, and there was 4 bedrooms, and there was 12 is, so it was like 3 to a room. But it was fellas and girls, and I always tell this story. My first night in New York, I went to checked into the apartment, left my bags and stuff, and the people who were there were like, "Oh, we're going to head to the cinema tonight. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "I may as well." And didn't know anybody else, so we went to the cinema. And that night I think there was 10 of us, and there was 8 different nationalities in this group at the cinema. We were watching 12 Years a Slave, and then we went back, and it was the oldest cinema in Manhattan, and it was just us on it. And it was like a really old style cinema with the red velvet curtains and chairs. And we went in and had pizza, and there were some who didn't speak English, and it was okay. Everybody just interacted, and I was like, God, this is a completely different life. And that was my first night. There was another girl from Derry then we ended up traveling together, but we had booked separately. And she messaged me a week before we were going saying, "Are you going to New York on I think it was the 5th of March?" And I was all, "Aye." And she said, "So am I." And she was like, "Where are you living?" And I was like, "Oh, I've booked into like a shared accommodation thing." And she said, "I don't have anywhere to live you." This was a week before we went. So she came and lived in the same apartment as us. And it was the things that we got up to, the things that we seen, the people that we met, just every day was different. And that's what I loved about it. It was just eye-opener, a complete eye-opener.
Oh wow! Obviously, very happy memories, because you can tell by the smile on your face. Great.
You know what? I went as me, and I come back as a completely different person, and a better version of me. And I never thought that a place or an experience could have that much impact on someone, or they change someone so much. And it was funny when I came back, my mommy said to me, I don't think you'll stay in Derry for long. And I didn't.
Would you go back to New York?
I would go back tomorrow if I could. The thing is, when I was there, obviously I told you I had met a fella beforehand. He moved to Australia, and I sort of realised that maybe he was the one, and he's in Australia, and what do you do? But I told him, so we both came back, and that's why we came back then from the different parts. I came back from New York, he came back from Australia, and then we moved to Manchester then. It was about a year and a half later.
Brilliant. Oh, way. That's great. Fair play to you. So you came back then from New York, and then did you move straight away, or where did you go?
Back, and I worked. Went into Seagate Technology, so I went down there. I was in there for about a year. I was back for about a year and a half before I moved to Manchester. But in that time, my best friend got killed in a car accident. My best friend of 20 years. We started secondary school together and did everything, knew everything, boyfriends. So all our firsts were the same. We lived in each other's pockets more or less, and that just devastated me. It's obviously like my best friend. Massive impact. I always say that, you know, I'm glad that I never experienced depression in my life, but I definitely did after her death. But it was a different kind of depression, if you know what I mean. It was the total loss of what felt like my other half nearly. So I came back to Derry. Catherine died on the June 2015. And for about 5 or 6 months, I was just lost. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know like anything that was happening. No, ring Catherine, left my phone. No, go up to see her. She's not there. And it was just I always say there's like even from New York, like I said, I went there and came back a different person. With Catherine's death, I was the Bronagh before, and then now I'm a different Bronagh. It's not the same. As much as I'm making so much progress in my personal life and my professional life and that, I always think about everything that Catherine's missing out on that I'm doing, like reaching milestones, 30, moving in with my boyfriend, you know, following my dreams, getting this career, building this career that I'm building, that I'm creating for myself. And I just thank God she's missing out on so much. But then I did make her a promise on the day that she got buried that I would live my life for the both of us. And we always laughed, me and her mommy and her sisters and that. Catherine got buried. And I went to Vegas the very next day. And they're like, you started off right, like, but it was a holiday that was already booked. And my parents were on holiday, I think they were in Spain. And I was going home to an empty house. And obviously my sisters and that were there. They were a great support. And Catherine's mommy and her sisters were like, you know what, you need to go. You need to, you know, take time out, go and relax. And went to Vegas then with two of my other best friends. And looking back now, it was the best thing that could ever have happened because I had a week of downtime. Vegas wasn't the Vegas holiday that we had planned, but I had two of the people who probably know me better than I know myself around me. We had time to grieve together. You know, we didn't have to fist people. We didn't have to, you know, meet people unexpectedly. And looking back now, that week was needed for me, for headspace, for come back then. And I just knew that life was never going to be the same for me. My boyfriend then got an opportunity to start university in Manchester, and he was like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know where I want to be. But over time then, my mama said, you know what, you're not going to make any progress if everything's attached to Catherine and Derry. You need to maybe, you know, have a look at you and Paul, what you're going to do, what, you know, your future is. And I booked to go to Manchester, nowhere to stay. Paul was living in halls. Again, just booked flights. But thankfully I have family here. My mama has a few aunties and their cousins and that. So I moved to Manchester in January of 2016.
Wow. So it was, you know, St. Brian there he was doing a course there at the time.
Paul,
Sorry, Paul. Giving you a different boyfriend there for a second.
I was like, Brian. I was like, God, did I say the wrong name? But
blame me, that's all I'd say.
He started at Salford University, so he started a course in wildlife conservation, and it was a 4-year course. We were just going to try and see how it went, you know, me staying in Derry and just travelling back and forth and that. But it got to the stage where I was making no progress. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go out with my friends that were still here. And my mama was like, you can't go on like this. You can't, you know, you need to get up and get out. You made her a promise that you were going to live your life for the two of them. Is this what you're doing, sitting in your room? And no. So I made the decision. Paul was like, I don't know if he was actually 100% ready for me to come, but I don't think he had any choice either. So I lived with my auntie for the first 6 months, and then we got a beautiful apartment here, and we're still in the apartment. And the progress that the two of us have made in 4 years is crazy. So I think Catherine maybe guided me to here for some reason, because from I set my foot in Manchester, my life has just went at 100 miles an hour.
What ways?
I started, so moved in with my auntie. Me and Paul then, we were looking for an apartment. We sort of had a vision of the apartment that we wanted. We got exactly the apartment that we had visioned. I started working for an insurance company. I worked at United as well. I worked in the match day, the VIP section. Just loads and loads of hard work when we first got here. And everybody kept saying, you know what, it'll be worth it. No, you're setting up foundations, Paul was studying, he was getting on really well. I then decided that didn't want to go back to IT. I wanted to make a fresh start. I knew that the insurance company it was a stepping stone for me. It was just something to get me set up when I moved to Manchester. So I applied for the government, applied to work in HMRC. I was going to train to be a tax specialist, and I started, I think it was 2017, I started in the government. And as a tax specialist, 6 months later, my manager came and said, Bronagh, this job isn't for you. And I was like, oh God, am I going to get sacked? What does he mean? And he said, I'm going to send you an application form. I think you should fill it out. And it was for the government security profession. And he was like, you're IT, you're good at it. You can do things with your eyes closed that people would have to train for years. He was an amazing manager, Mitch. He sent me the application form. He said, I'll help you. We'll go through it. 6 months after me starting this whole new, I'm going to be a tax specialist, I was back in IT at a higher grade. I actually jumped 2 grades from what I joined HMRC in. Loads of extra money, more money than I think I've ever had, for the job that I was doing. Did that job for a year, so that was as a security consultant sort of. So I sort of led on cyber, got loads of training, and obviously from my background I had a good lot of information about cyber anyway, cyber security. And I did that for a year and a half, and then a job came up within the same department but a different team to do with the behaviour and culture, so the human behaviours and culture that relate to security. And I was like, sure, they'll look for a psychologist or something for that. And they were like, no, full training provided. And I was like, God. And I had already started my self-development journey and interested in mindset and why people do things the way they do and how they behave and how their behaviours and actions can affect their results. And I thought, God, this would be interesting, especially in the security setting. So I applied for the job and I got that, moved up another grade. And just for me, that I'm still in that job now. I think I started that in 2017. So I must have started that in 2018. It's going great, but then obviously the mindset side of things, the self-development, that has really taken off in the last year and a half. I'm obsessed with it's what I get out. It's a fire in my belly. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning, is because I want to know more. I want to read everything. I want to listen to podcasts. I want to hear, even listening to the other podcasts that you do, the other people that you interview and stuff. I love listening to people's stories and thinking, God, that's so different from me, but somehow we end up at the same. People who maybe go into coaching or mindset but have a completely different background for me. There's lots of people who have trauma, loads and loads of trauma, and I'm like, God, am I qualified to do no, am I in the right space to do it, because I've had such a good life? And obviously I lost my best friend, but other than that, things have been sort of plain sailing for me. But I back on topic. So 4 years later, I'm in a job that I love, working towards building my own business. And Paul, my boyfriend, he finished his degree, and around the same time that he got his degree results, he got into the fire service in Manchester as well. And that was always a dream of his. And the degree was sort of like a backup plan. So he got both within 3 years, 4 years. And he's now halfway through his fire service apprenticeship. And we are just, nothing phases us, nothing can phase us. We're just loving life. We're doing exactly what we want to do. And we're getting rewarded for it nearly. We're living our best life, and more things are coming our way every day. There's new opportunities for us.
Oh wow, it's amazing, and the gratitude or the appreciation you show for that as well is quite something. take me back a bit. Is there a correlation? You mentioned way back you sort of started your self-development journey around 27, 5 years ago roughly.
Mm.
Was there a correlation between that and Catherine's death, or is it just what was
I
going
think
on there?
so. I think maybe them sort of couple of months where I was really down, like really, really down in the dumps, and just questioned everything really. Like, what is life? Why is this happening? No, she didn't deserve it. Nobody deserves it. But then it got me thinking: is this what's going to happen to me? No, is this how I'm going to live out the rest of my life? Am I just going to sail through my life on jobs that I know that maybe I'm good at, but I don't necessarily enjoy? Or am I going to stay in Derry? Am I going to have children and get married? Am I going to? And that was sort of expected of me, even at that age, 26. No, I was. I'm 32 now, and I'm still not at that stage. But um, I think there was something that maybe just deep down I knew that I deserved more, and her memory deserved more, if that makes sense. It wouldn't have, for me, it wouldn't have been enough just for me to be comfortable. I wanted to prove to myself and to her and her family that her life wasn't in vain nearly, that no, I'm going to take every opportunity. I'm going to take double opportunity from everything and love for her as well.
It makes sense that your values and your perception would be adjusted through the event, and I'm sort of, yeah, it's great to see that how you've taken it, because, well, you probably know from the betting scene, how do you take a loss? And
Uh,
some people, it depends. Some people double down, and some people chase their
their
losses.
losses.
And it's funny how different humans react to different things to events. And it's a tribute to you and a tribute to Catherine as well, that the attitude you've taken out of that. So it's well done.
That is one thing that, like, all my friends know, and it was something that I talked about openly, that I made this promise there, and I'll never let her down. So if I'm not letting her down, I'm not letting myself down, and that's the way I look at it.
Hmm. Well, it's amazing, and to take something good out of something pretty bad.
Tragedy.
Yeah, it's quite something. So talk to us about your development journey then. Where did it all start, and did you start at chapter one? And
The coach of work actually says, you can't read page 10 when you're on page 3. And that is my mind. I just want to know everything. I want to be further than I am. But over the last few months, I've really got clarity around my goals and stuff. But it was about 5 years ago. It was just sort of books to start off with. I started reading like Tony Robbins and listening to Bob Proctor, and I just sort of came across Bob Proctor. My sister was sort of on her self-development journey, um, and she would have had books lying about the house and stuff, and I just started to pick them up and like flick through them. And at a stage, I thought, God, she's so weird. What is she reading stuff like that for? And she was into yoga and meditation, and I was like, what is she doing, sort of? And it's funny now because we always had a good relationship, but strained compared to my other sisters. And now, 5 years later, and I'm where I am, and I understand what I understand, and I've read the books that she's read, and I've come along a similar journey. It's like she's like, oh, finally somebody understands me, and we'd be on the phone for hours and just sharing tips and tricks and who we're listening to, and oh, have you checked this person's page out, and oh, you'll get some good healing tips, and all this 5 years ago. If she had said stuff like that to me, it would have been, what is she on? What is she on about? No, I don't want to go away. But I so it was sort of from the books that were in the house from her, and just picked them up, and then I read that Tony Robbins Awaken the Giants Within, I think it's called, and it was just sort of the that everything's within me, and I was like, is it really? And then I thought, like, I thought about things a lot and how far I had come and what I had achieved right up there. I was maybe 26. And I thought, like, if I had stayed in the bookies, I probably would have been running it. I probably would have worked me full way up. I was progressing that quickly. And just sort of putting that analogy that, if I moved at that speed with everything that I applied myself to, what could I achieve? And I think within that, then I just wanted to keep knowing more and keep. I think I'll always be like that. I don't think I'm ever going to be satisfied with. I'm not going to do a course and say, right, well, that's me. I've made it. I'm always going to be learning, and I always want to share. And that's sort of where my journey has come up to now. So it was sort of reading, listening to podcasts, reading books, reading articles, blogs, following people, and then I got to the stage where these wee thoughts started coming to me. Well, maybe you would be good at teaching people this, and then I would be like, no, put that back, no, lock the head back off, throw away the key. No, if you work in IT, Bronagh, you've got a good job. But like I said, it kept coming back about teaching people or sharing what I was learning with people. Then it kept 4 or 5 times it come back, and as it kept coming back, I sort of went a wee bit further into it, looked into what it would take to set up my own business, and then again just telling myself to wise up. You're not going to do that. You're going to go back to work on Monday morning, and you're going to do your day job. But then it was around Christmas time last year. I was reading loads. I was listening to Bob Proctor. I was listening to Earl Nightingale. I was doing all the right things. And then I remember seeing like a post on Facebook about the no and doing gap. So you know what you should be doing, but you're not doing it. And that's you're just not doing it. You have everything, but you're not doing it. Why? And it was about fear and limiting beliefs. And I was like, right, I need to know more about this then. And kept reading. And every book that you read and every successful person that you talk to, they say, chat to somebody or be coached by somebody who's already done what you're looking to do. And I was like, but I'm not looking to do it. No, it was sort of that making the decision that, right, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say that I want to be a mindset coach. And it took me so long to say it. My boyfriend was saying, what are you doing all this work for? And I was like, oh, just self-development. No, I'm just making myself better and that. And I didn't say it out loud for ages. And then when I finally did say it out loud, he was like, you'd be brilliant at that. And I was like, God, would it? And then the more I talked to people about it, they were like, we see what you post on Instagram, the books that you're reading, the people that you follow, the things that you share. So a lot of people weren't surprised, and that surprised me because I had so much self-doubt. And then Christmas, I thought, you know what, I'm going to start working with a coach, and I did. I started working with 2 different people, and just the clarity that I got straight away by just saying stuff out loud. And that really was the realization for me that when you put it out there and you say it, it becomes real, sort of. So it was then come May time, I had really sort of built myself up. I built loads of momentum in myself. I knew what my goal was, and kind of started a 12-week course. And from that, it just took off. I would say I'm 75% of the way to setting up a business. I've written my first mindset course. I've trialed it. It's going to be launched on the 1st of January. And this was all, I had this as a plan for the 1st of January 2022. For the 1st of January 2022 for me to launch my business and have written my own stuff and trialed it. And last night I actually finished the first sort of trial of the program that I've written. So I'm 6 months ahead as in the trialing of it, but a year ahead of where I thought I would be in the space of 2 months by actually focusing on my goals, by working with people who have already done it, by surrounding myself with like-minded people. I'm just obsessed at the minute. I just want to, if I could have 2 extra days under the week just to do this, I would.
You were saying there earlier on, about changing in your habits. So before it was, lying in, watching things, etc. And now you mentioned there you give yourself a time from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m.
I have a morning routine. So I get up most mornings, it's 5 o'clock. I do a meditation, I do my affirmations, some yoga, and then I would spend a good hour and a half either reading, completing online courses, listening to podcasts, a full hour of self-development for me, of something that's going to benefit me, full hour and a half. every morning. And then obviously with Paul working shift work, I have 2 free nights every week where I do courses, I read a book, I devour books. Like my postman, I feel so sorry for him over lockdown because like every other day he's delivering a book. And you know the self-development books, they're not paperback, they're not, they're not small. But I make sure that I set time, I plan my week. I do micromanage myself, and I know that I manage people, but I don't micromanage them. But for me, I sort of plan and I know that I'm putting in the work. And I do put it in, I would say Monday to Friday. Sometimes at the weekends I don't set an alarm, but because I've been doing it for so long, 5 o'clock comes and my eyes open and I'm out of bed, and so I set aside time purely for my own self-development.
In terms of heroes, inspirational people, and things like that, who stands out for you in your life?
My daddy. I already said that is my hero. It just, nothing's ever too much for him. And I don't mean that just for me. I see how he treats other people, how he treats his siblings and his own mother and strangers even. Like in Manchester, when I came here, like the homelessness rate in Manchester is massive. And my daddy just wants to help, he wants to give, he wants, and I'm like, Daddy, this isn't like Derry, you're going to pass a homeless person every few minutes. Just his heart is so pure, and it just is my hero. He really is. Nothing phases him. He tries everything, but he's so modest. He doesn't do it for himself. He does it for everybody around him or everybody that he loves, his family. And obviously the partnership that him and my mommy have as well. My mom is exactly the same. She is just, it's like she's a saint nearly. She puts so much effort on the other people, and then she's always sort of, she maybe not put herself last in the sense that she looks after herself and she knows that she has to be the best her to help the rest of us, but she would do anything for anybody. And I think growing up in that sort of environment and seeing that, it's okay to help people. If people are falling on hard times or that, you help them out. And it's something my daddy always says to me too about like me moving here and being Irish, and don't belittle people, educate them. Because a lot of and it's sort of like that. It's but you're not better than anyone. And I get that from my mom and daddy, and I've always got that. Treat people how you want to be treated. And I call my daddy my hero and my mom my best friend. And some of my posts, I like to personalize them, and people would say, "Oh, I love how you refer to your daddy as Tomboy and your mommy as Wee Lily." And we just have an amazing relationship, and it's obviously how they were brought up, how they brought me up, and the values that they've instilled in me. And then the support that, like I said, I could tell them that I wanted to go to the moon tomorrow and they would support me.
And that's the power of a good mentor as such, someone that, a coach sits beside you, or, whether it be a coach or a mentor, and helps you to do whatever it is, no matter how wacky. And that's why I say to anyone, if it's what gives you fire in your belly, go for it. We're all different. And I mean, I'm still sort of laughing at the irony, if you say with your middle sister there, and her doing these yoga and meditation, doing all this stuff, and unless I laugh because I've kind of been there, and almost, I was fortunate enough to go to a couple of the Tony Robbins things, and, like, there's no doubt, like, you're walking in the door and you're kind of going, this could very easily be described as a cult. It's like, I've never been on an official cult, but this could be right up there. I can see why people were sort of go, God, you're going to get brainwashed. And after, certainly 4 days of the UPW with Tony Robbins, it's like, hey, listen, if this is a cult, sign me up.
Sign me up. It's funny that you've actually said that word, because that would have been sort of how we would have sort of tempted my sister growing up. What cult are you signing up to, or who's that you're reading? And you're brainwashed. And we were actually on the phone the other day, and we were talking about the Power of Now, the book, and I was saying about how the practice in the Power of Now, the other book, is so deep, and the meditations are so good, and the visualization and stuff. But my daddy was in the background, and he said, "Oh, has she signed up to that cult as well?" He was talking to Carol. I was on the phone to Carol, and he was talking about me, because Carol has been on it for so long. But that's what it's as if she's brainwashing me nearly.
It's, well, like I say, I mean, if it is, and I know for me personally,
Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, well, it's like, it's amazing. What books and what would you recommend for anyone that's going through it?
So for me, my favorite, like the Power of Now, I always go back to that. I always find myself
Eckhart Tolle, right?
Sorry?
Eckhart Tolle is Power
Yeah,
Now? Yeah.
yeah. I like the style of it as well, because he does like a question and answer. That's the style of the book. Another, The Art of Thinking Clearly. So that's about all the different fallacies and stuff, and that just blew me away. Reading, because they're short as well. They're only 2 or 3 pages long each. Some of them, it's like, oh my god, that's why I thought like that. That's why I did certain things, and then it sort of rationalizes stuff in your mind when you know that it is your mind, and it's not something that you're doing intentionally. Obviously most of our actions are subconscious, but that The Art of Thinking Clearly, I would tell everybody to read that, because even if they don't, every fallacy doesn't have something with you. You'll read one of them, and it'll instantly click. It'll make so much of your life experiences make sense.
I actually don't believe I've ever read it. I don't even...
It's a small book, but the pages are like, there's loads of pages. The writing's really small, and it's different. It's about different fallacies, but they're only about 2 or 3 pages long. And some of them, like the availability fallacy, like where you just grab information because there's a gap in your knowledge, and you make yourself believe something that's real because it was the last thing that you read or the last thing that you seen, and it fits in nicely with whatever you're experiencing. That for me is something that I've read it through a few times, and then like if something happens or I read something, I'm like, oh, that's what that meant, and I go back and read it again. I have books everywhere, all over the house. Like, that's what I said. Like, I feel sorry for my postman. He's delivering books constantly, and I love books. I'm not an audio kind of girl. I listen to some audio books, but I can't. I like to sit down with a cup of tea and feel the book and read it and turn the page, and so the Power of Now, the both of them actually. Practicing the Power of Now, then it's the follow-up book that has lots of deep meditations and stuff, and guiding how to sort of be present in the moment. So that's them two I would really go back to a lot, probably every day. I would maybe flick through it, read a couple of lines, and then that The Art of Thinking Clearly. And it's as if when I read that, even though I've read it before, it's like new information nearly. I process something different every time I read a part of it. But some of the like autobiographies and stuff, Michelle Obama, I thought that was just really inspiring.
Powerful woman.
And then obviously she has the thing on Netflix as well. It's the sort of tour of her autobiography, but really, really inspiring. And I like to read lots of like speeches that women have written as well, and that's something that I do to get myself ready for public speaking. I would read a speech written by a woman, and they try and get the emotion and stuff, and no link words, and I would read anything, to be honest, Pete.
That's good. Well, it's good to be, because I mean I'm the reverse. I'm a listener, but then I have dyslexia, so reading for me is not necessarily sort of for leisure or pleasure. But the auditory, yeah, no problem. So it's amazing, but I really, the thought of sitting down with a drink or sitting down with something and just relaxing and being able to soak it up, I think is it's a beautiful talent to have, you know, and to be able to give yourself that space to do that.
And that's where I like my morning routine. The end of it is usually finishing with a chapter of whatever book I'm reading now. And that's what I have as my reward. So if I do every item on my morning routine, so my yoga, my meditation, if I spend my hour reading either something online or completing a course, then I get to have my morning tea or my morning coffee with my chapter of my book. And that's just my sort of grounding again before I start my actual manic day, which most of them are come 7 o'clock.
I love it. So the other thing, there's two here I've just looked up. So there's a blue cover, or I think you can see. One's by Ralph DeBelly.
Aye, that's it.
One.
So the top one had the gold, the white and the gold.
So yeah, by Ralph DeBelly, for anyone that's looking for it there. Oh, it's interesting. No, I'd be always intrigued of a good recommendation. So tell me this. I mean, what's your style in terms of, you know, teaching and you know, with the mindset side coming up for you? You know, what way would you like to appeal to people and teach people?
See, like I sort of touched on this earlier, that you know a lot of people who they sell their story, and it's usually trauma or really hard times or like substance abuse or alcohol, or whereas me, I'm like, oh my god, I'm squeaky clean. No, I don't have. But then for me, there's so many people in my situation who are in good jobs and good relationships, and everything's going great, but there's still the need or the want or the feeling of more. So what I want to do is I want to like make it sort of normal that, you know what, it's okay to want more. It's okay to sort of feel stuck. No, it's okay. You're not appreciating what you have. You're appreciating yourself. You know that you're worth more, or there's more value, there's more potential. And I think a lot of people just settle. And I don't mean settle for less. Like for me, if I didn't do the mindset sort of thing, I probably would live a comfortable, happy enough life. But there's that part of me that's saying, well, you can have comfort, or you can have dreams, you can have the best, you can wake up in the morning and bounce out of your bed every day. It's like that Steve Jobs thing, where he says about looking in the mirror and every morning and saying, no, do you want to go to your work today? And it's okay if it's no every once in a while, but if it's no every day, then no, it's not. And like even with me, I love my job, but now I can't imagine doing it for the rest of my life because of all of this learning that I'm doing. I want people to realize that they have everything that's within them. Everything that's within them is enough to create their life the way they want it. And I think people need to realize what their own potential is as well. A lot of people just settle, or they think, obviously, self-limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. No, I don't look right. I couldn't go on Instagram and talk because I don't look like the people who do that. I would love everybody to wake up in the morning the way I wake up and be like, right, what dream are we tackling today? And that's the way I look at it. No, I have a day job that I love. I have a really beautiful home. I have a partner that loves me and I love him. I have a really good family. But I want more for myself. I want to be living the lifestyle that I know that I deserve, and I know that anybody can have if they really want it. But it all starts with yourself, and I think it's when people realize that they're enough. You're good enough as you are. You can build whatever life that you want.
Why do people get stuck, do you think?
I think it's like obviously to do with the programming, conditioning, how people are brought up, environment. Like for me, I know there's a lot of people my age from Derry who have completely different lifestyles than me, and it was majority of how they were brought up, what their environment was, family life, and sometimes like whenever I hear other people's experiences, it's like nearly like, oh my god, how did people survive living like that, or having maybe alcoholism in the family or drug abuse, or God, your mommy makes your dinner and she gives you a hug at night and she kisses you in the morning, and no, she looks after you, she irons your uniform. And then I hear other people's stories and I'm like, God, how, how can people survive that type of life? So for me, it's just like, I don't know, I know a lot of people come through trauma and that as well, and that can be their turning point. Um, and people need to realize that they have that in them. Some things that happen to people, or it happens to them without their consent, or without, like there's a lot of things, like a lot of people who I follow have really traumatic backgrounds and they're doing the same job as me, and I can see, like empathize with them, but they know that they can come through it is amazing. And I want to be able to share the fact that, you know what, you don't have to have this bad traumatic story. You can be everything. You can live your life and have everything that you think that you need or you want, but you can always want more, if that makes sense. No, I'm not taking away from the bad side of things, but I'm saying it's okay to be enough and still want more.
I think that's great because, as you say, otherwise you end up in a trauma comparison. It's like, well, and that does certainly seem to be a motivation for some people, and almost the darker the event, the more they have, they've flipped the polarity and gone the other way, which is kind of great. But then you go, God, I need something really bad in my life to happen so that then I can flip around and get the other side. But I think it's also like a lot of things, like success, like anything else, you got to remember that actually not everyone makes that journey, so you might get people that go through that event and they're not able to flip the energy and stand on the shoulders of the event and what's going on. There is the exception, but then there's yourself by your own admission saying, your life is privileged, but yet you still have capabilities and powers and abilities and it doesn't take something bad to happen for the good to happen, which is refreshing, like I say, because a lot of people sort of say, well, look, my life wasn't that bad or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter if you've got the best life or the worst life. It's what you're going to do about it is the difference.
And I think out there, like maybe like if there's people who's listening to this and they're thinking about becoming a coach, or they're thinking about working in the sort of mindset area, and there's a lot of training and like free webinars and stuff that are out there that say, find your story, define your story and put it out there. And that's where I struggled. I was like, well, what's my story? Obviously because of everything then that I'm listening to and seeing people overcoming so much trauma or heartache, and I'm like, no, I had a good life. I had a really good life. I have a really good life. But I know that there's so much more for me, and it's all within me. And that's sort of what I want to get across to somebody. If there's somebody listening now and they're thinking, I would love to do that, or I would love to help people. And that's what it comes down to for me is I want people to know what I know. I want people to have the feelings that I feel about their goals and what they want to achieve. And even like last night, whenever I achieved that sort of goal of trialing my first product, I was like, what, 6 months early? How did that happen? And buzzing, absolutely buzzing. And it's sharing tips and tricks and training people how to train their mind, and they could be doing the same thing. And like for me, this is in the last 6 months, I've like catapulted my own mindset and the things that I'm achieving, and then the opportunities that are opening up to me. I could never even dreamed about them 6 months ago. And that's what I would like to get across to people, that you know what, it doesn't take years, it doesn't take as much as I'm on this journey, almost 5 years. 6 months of dedication, clarity, and hard work, really hard work. I am where I am now, where I'm going to launch in January next year.
Yeah. And that's awesome to be able to, I think the takeaway for me almost is, that getting out of your own way, because as people sort of saying, well, okay, it's okay for her, or well, that didn't really happen to me, or, and it's the world's easiest thing to go, well, listen, I'm stuck where I am now, but like you say, deciding to get up at 5 a.m. I mean, to me, it's smart. I get that, and whereas everyone else might be sort of, dragged out of bed at 7 or whatever your thing is. So that is a conscious choice. But that only comes, for me anyway, it only comes when you have a passion or desire to do it. Because otherwise, there's only so many 5 a.m. starts you'll do before eventually, the paradigms and everything kicks in and goes, yeah, do you really want to get up at that time?
And that's it. That's the whole thing. Like, I want people to be aware of what's holding them back. A lot of people think it's outside, external sort of views or external situations or other people, victim mindsets. But I want people to understand that these self-limiting beliefs that they have can be changed, and most of the stuff that's holding them back isn't theirs anyway. No, it's not. It is other people's views. It just have been ingrained over time. It's like, it's nearly like when you explain it to someone, it's that sort of light bulb moment again that I enjoy in my work. Whenever you tell somebody, this is ingrained in you from you're 7 years old. This is when you start to sort of develop your own beliefs. Can you imagine, like, not even evaluating your belief system, and now you're 27? So that means you weren't aware that you had these beliefs for 20 odd years. You've never done anything to upgrade them or to change them or even think about it. So whenever people realize, so actually I was working with a girl who's 27, and whenever I said that to her, she was like, oh my God, and I used an analogy that I heard from another girl about updating your phone, your updates, update your beliefs as well. You would never keep hitting snooze on your phone, or I'll do it later, but it's the awareness, letting people know that, what, these are self-limiting beliefs. They're beliefs, they're not facts. You don't have to believe them. And then I think it's the whole thing too about whenever you're aware of your self-limiting beliefs, when you say it out loud, most of them sound silly. Most of them sound like, if you ask yourself, if you were giving advice to somebody else, like one for me was, what are people going to think, about this, me starting my own business, and about mindset and putting myself out there. Obviously, Derry is a really small place, and people like to talk, and I was a part of that culture for years. Only when I moved away, I started to find myself a wee bit more, and you know what? People get fed up and move on. You're not going to be the sole topic of the whole town or whatever, but it's, for me, saying that out loud is, what's people going to think? And then I had to think, well, you know what? If you don't do this, what are you going to think of yourself? It was the opposite of it, and that's what I try and do if any beliefs or self-limiting beliefs come up. I try to look at the opposite. Well, if I don't do it, what's going to happen? Or, oh, I'm too big to wear that dress, but then if I don't wear it, I'm just going to wear something that I always wear. Try, be confident in your body, be confident in who you are, be confident in your thoughts, be confident in your feelings, because self-limiting beliefs, they're not just, you don't just have one, there's hundreds of them, and they come out whenever you're maybe feeling really good, or you're on a roll, there's momentum, you're nearly there, and then your self-limiting belief comes back and says, oh, well, no, let's not put that live up, or let's not wear that dress, or let's not post that. What are people going to think? What are people going to say? And then that's, for me now, thankfully I don't really have that, but there is times, obviously, self-doubt creeps back in, and that is exactly what I do. I do an affirmation that is the complete opposite of what's holding me back. And then I say, well, if I don't do this post, say it's about affirmations or something, I'm keeping this knowledge to myself. There could be somebody out there waiting for a post to tell them how to speak better to themselves. So I am happy, I am grateful, I am, there could be somebody waiting for that information, and I'm just keeping it to myself because I'm afraid of what somebody else might think. And then that sort of, and if I say it to myself and say it out loud, it doesn't make sense. Why would I keep it? It's helping me so much. I've seen how much the knowledge that I have, especially around affirmations and stuff, how much it helps other people. Why would I be scared of what somebody who maybe isn't going to benefit from it thinks, when there's somebody who could benefit from it?
It's almost someone say, and you know, it's like selfish to hold on to something that, you know, whether it be facts or knowledge or something you learn in a book or whatever it is,
Yeah,
that actually to pass it on, you know, listen, fair enough. You know, it might be that 99% of the population don't want to hear it, but all you need is 1% or 0.1%,
exactly.
and that's enough to change your lifetime and their lifetime forever.
And that is this sort of sole purpose. I want to help people. I want, like, for me, it's sort of hard to explain because I'm so happy with everything that's happening in my life. Like my mama fell on Saturday and fractured her pelvis, and I can still say that I'm so happy with everything in my life because I know that she's going to get better. I know that her bones are going to heal. And it's because of my mindset and what I've developed and the work that I'm doing on myself that I'm able to offer that level of support to my mama and tell her, you know what, it is going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. We're going to get you better. But for me, like people will be like, "Oh, that's awful," and no, it is awful. It was very unfortunate. But you know what? We're going to move forward. No, she's going to heal in 6 weeks' time. We're not going to stop for 6 weeks, and no, and that's what I sort of do with my mama as well. Now, over the last few days, I've been saying to her, about affirmations and stuff, and she's like, I'll try anything," and it's sort of it. Your mindset is it's key, and that's what you have to be aware of what you're letting in, and sometimes it is the 99% that you shouldn't be letting in. It should maybe be the 1% of the good stuff that you're seeing, the good sites that you're following, or people that you're following, or the things that you're listening to. And then again, like they have a positive mindset, and they have the outlook that I have and the feeling that I have every day that I get up. It's about choice. It's about my attitude. I could have easily said, "Oh God, I need to go home for 6 weeks now and look after my mommy." Whereas I don't need to do that. She's got family around her. I'm not stressing. I looked at it as a broken bone and I said, right, well, that's okay. It'll heal. We'll get her back on her feet and things will be perfect again.
It's funny. There's an analogy, and I love that. You know, it makes so much sense that it is the attitude you go with, and not you know, you want, when you think good things happen. But someone's like, it is an example because I'm in property investing, and someone's saying, "God, yeah, no, I couldn't move out of the home, you know, because just the fear of having to pack everything is too much." And it's like, well, how long have you been thinking this? It's like 5 years. It's like,
Oh,
it's like, no matter what, I'm pretty sure at a push you could move someone out in a day. You know, you could do it in a week with assistance. You could do it in a month by yourself. And yet, for 5 years, they've been playing this story of, yeah, I'd love to, but I have too much stuff, or I can't face it, or I can't do this and all the rest, you know. And as you say, it's like you could have moved home 50 times now.
I know.
But yet they've played the same old script over and over again, you know. But I think from my point, I suppose in the world of NLP and things like that, but it's the story we tell ourselves, you know, and it's that, what is it there that's going to do it, you know. And I think it's great, you know, that there's so much. And I suppose, do you know what pushes you?
I want the best for myself. I don't want to. Well, it goes back to Catherine and that promise that I made her. I've done the 7 levels deep. I've done the finding my why, and it comes back to she was robbed of her life, and I'm not going to allow myself to be robbed of my own while I'm still alive. And like I said, I'll never let her down. So if I'm never letting her down, I'm never letting myself down. And I think that's really what pushes me on, that I have this opportunity. They live the way I want to live, and they choose how I live. And what I put in, I'm going to get out. And so many people don't have that chance.
It's so powerful. Mm. So tell us, do you like yourself? Do you love yourself?
I love myself, and I can truly say that now. I'm so happy with everything that I'm putting out to the world because it's true. It's my authentic self. And I think that's where it comes into that. That's why I get out of bed every morning. I'm living the life that I'm choosing to live. I'm not living it by anybody else's standards or by anybody else's choices. I'm doing what I'm doing for me, for the greater good, sort of, for the benefit of other people as well, so I can share what I have inside me that makes me feel like the best version of myself.
Love that. And what's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. This one is, it's like,
I feel like there's a lot of censoring going on here, and that's okay. It's like, because people go, I can't say that in public. Yeah.
oh, well, my guilty pleasure, it's not bad, but I do enjoy reading the comments on Facebook on news articles without reading the news article and making up my own news article based on the comments. It's not bad. I do actually like to watch reruns of The Bill as well on Dave and the Gold channel. And it's funny because The Bill, you know the music from The Bill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
When I was younger, my sisters, when I was young, I mean young in a baby walker, my sisters used to bring me up right up to the front of the TV and put the fire guard behind my baby walker, and the music used to scare the life out of me, and my legs used to go as quick as they could, and I couldn't move because they had me blocked in. And they thought it was so fun. They thought, they still do. They still think it's hilarious, the memories they have of it. But I love The Bill. I love watching the reruns of it. I keep it muted though until they actually start talking.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And what's like bucket list for you? What are you, some of the things you really want to do?
For me, obviously setting up this business now and building my clientele and my following, but for me, my bucket list, the sort of top three things I want to achieve is I want to have a family. So I'm 32. I would need to start with Irish twins or twins like you have. I don't want to have an only child. Traveling. I've done lots of traveling. I've been all over the world. But I would like to see Africa. So that's on my bucket list. And then I have a vision of my house that I'm going to build. And that is up there on the bucket list. I know the colour of the brick. I know the number of the door. I know what colour the door is. So that is a massive, it's something that I'm aiming for. It's one of my sort of my long-term goals. And I know exactly how it's going to look. I know what the garden's going to look like. I know what the decor in the living room is going to look like. So I have, that would be one. Building the dream home would be probably, it's on my top three. So
fantastic, great values there. And something that not many people know about you.
Think about that one. I'm very vocal. I'm an oversharer. I would say something that not a lot of people know about me is they know that I'm confident, but they don't know the anxiety that builds up before I speak publicly or doing something like this. As soon as I start to speak, it switches off, but inside my heart goes until I open my mouth. I'll be sweaty, I'll be tense, but that's something that I'm working on, and I think it's something good to share because a lot of people look at me on like talking on my Instagram or talking on this, and they think, God, she's so confident. She's no. Whereas I am confident, I believe in myself. It's just the initial pushing. And I read a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and that is something that I love. Where you know what, this fear, it's there for a moment. You know, feel it, but get on with it then. Do it anyway. So I think that's something good to share, because obviously it's not always how you appear or how you sound. Obviously inside there's something that triggers in me that, oh, you're going to speak to all these people, or they're going to hear what you're saying. But then as soon as I start to talk about the time.
That's great, and I appreciate you sharing that, because as you say, there's so many people have a fear of doing it, and even as I said before the interview, interviews are funny in that the first short while is conscious and people are anxious or whatever, and then after a while, it's just you are
And
who
get
you
them
are.
to shut up.
Yeah, it's no different than going for a coffee with a good friend. It's kind of going, and the best thing is it's your story, so you get to do all the talking. That's the main thing about it. So, tell me, how can people reach out to you? How can where can they get you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So my tag is b.he.ly, so, or li, sorry. So it's pronounced B Healey. But I'll actually tell you the story behind it. It's all the stuff about mindset with your future self, and no vision of who you're going to be and what you're going to be. And my boyfriend's name is Livingstone. So my name is made up, my business name is made up of B-H-E for Healey, L-I for Livingstone. So it's B Healey, as you said, which is my name, but it's an accumulation of our two surnames. So I'm envisioning the engagement ring, the wedding, the children, the house. So he's not allowed to go anywhere. From the 1st of January this year, that name is going to be out there as a business. So
Love it.
he's tied in now.
he's on the string whether he wants to be or not. I love it.
We've got past the 7-year itch, so we're fine.
So what's your fire in the belly?
Me is teaching or sharing everything that I have within me that makes me feel the way I do every day, because I think everybody should feel like it. I think everybody should look at themselves in the mirror and say, I am good enough, I am smart enough, I am confident, I can do whatever I want to do. And that is the way I feel. And it's because of the mindset work that I've done, the habits that I've built on, what I allow into my life, and what I give out. I truly believe that I'm vibrating on like the highest self-awareness energy that there is. And that's what I'm attracting. Like the people that I'm surrounded by in groups online, on like even things like this opportunity, that would have been alien to me a few months ago. But now that I have that belief in myself, I believe that I can do anything.
Love it. And like anything, once you've done it, you can't undo it.
Exactly.
That's the beautiful thing. It's like you can't not have done this interview.
Aye.
And there will be more. And we look forward to hearing, everything about what you're doing going forward and sharing that, So Bronagh, it's been an absolute pleasure for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing all that.
Pete. Thank you
And
for helping me get my story out there.
That's what it's all about.
And hopefully it helps somebody make that leap as well and follow their dreams and whatever it is.
Just keep doing what you're doing. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Thanks very much.
Pete. Thank you.